fighting strategy. Wickham was responding to the Foreign Affairs Ministry's latest endorsement of U.S. military action in the Southern Caribbean, in which they warned nationals that engagement in illegal activity would be at their own peril. Wickham describes the government's refusal to back CARICOM's declaration of the Caribbean as a zone of peace as deeply unfortunate, saying the administration appears to be hitching its wagon to the star of Donald Trump. Wickham says the push for the Dragon gas project underscores that dependency and warns that Trinidad and Tobago's stance toward Venezuela has revived Cold War-era divisions in the region.
I'm challenged to understand how these extrajudicial killings, these executions are taking place in international waters, presumably, could be seen as being within the law. And the question is, what implications does that have for similar actions that are taking place on land? I mean, Trinidad and Tobago has a huge criminal problem. And I am a bit concerned at the fact that similar strategies may very well be adopted in respect of the presumption of guilt and a presumption that persons who are guilty ought to be dealt with in this rather dramatic fashion, a final fashion.
Unprecedented flooding brought misery to dozens of families along Akbar Road, Charleville yesterday, as heavy rains inundated homes and disrupted Diwali celebrations across central Trinidad. Residents spent much of the day cleaning up after nearly 2 hours of torrential rainfall triggered flash flooding that left streets submerged and properties damaged. Councillor for the area, Adrian Ali, Member of Parliament for Chaguanas West, Dr. Colin Gosain, and Chaguanas Mayor, Faik Mohammed, walked throughout the affected area to meet residents and assess the damage.
We've checked them, we see firsthand the issues they face. You know, we would have done some work here July where we clean this entire waterway here, which is on Akbar Road. We cleaned it in July, and yet still we are seeing that it can't take the capacity of water, especially in situations like we had yesterday. So we have identified certain areas where we require upgrade to the infrastructure. And
those were your 6 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at the top of the hour, right here on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network.
Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.
Good Tuesday morning, running into a wet Tuesday, of course, the day after our Diwali holiday. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, as always, to the Morning Brew, new installment, latest edition, of course, as we head into the rest of the week. Jason Williams signing on. Yes, very wet outside. It was a wet weekend. A matter of fact, not surprised we were given that information via Jamak, and he told us it was going to be a wet Diwali weekend. And indeed, we look at, well, some of the conditions. Rather wet in certain parts of the country, of course, central. Other areas would have been impacted. But regardless, people still went out last evening, lighting their diyas and just giving the per usual, you know, the doing what is customary. They didn't allow the conditions to dampen the mood at all. And indeed, we are here. We were here yesterday for a shortened version, just 1 hour, but we're back to the regular 2-hour schedule this morning. Lots of great conversations ahead. But let's see what's happening via the front page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today, Tuesday, October 21st, the 21st of October, 2025. Again, rather wet one, but we warm you up as usual. Let's see what's happening. Working to keep you safe. I'll get into some details there. That's the words from the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. People were asking for her to break her silence over the weekend, and she did just that during her Diwali message. So I'll get to that momentarily. We're looking at a beautiful picture here. Officers from the TTPS, despite all the conditions and the rain and the weekend being a damp one, They went out, and I'm seeing WPC holder, Odabrio, lighting theirs. Also Solazano lighting up the theirs there on the avenue, right there by the Woodbrook. Well, it was a coordinated effort between the Woodbrook Residents Association and the Woodbrook Police Station. So that's a good look. Well done. Beautiful picture indeed. So let's go to page 5 with the Prime Minister's remarks. I took some notes this morning as to some of the potent talking points from her address. In her message, she began by saying that the, quote, Diwali teaches us that light will always triumph over darkness and that good will forever conquer evil, end quote. She added that as a nation, we must keep that light burning, standing together against crime, fear, and injustice. She went on to say that the government were doing all in their power to protect them, well, of course, the citizens, and ensure their safety. She says, quote, I understand that there may be feelings of anxiety at this time, and I wish to assure the nation that my government and I have been working quietly, steadily, and decisively through every available channel to keep you safe, end quote. So this is, of course, a development I'm seeing Acting Commissioner there on screen, right? Officer Benjamin and, of course, the Prime Minister would have given some remarks. I'm, again, listening to all what's going on, but at the same time, I'm looking and listening more so to the utterances of President Trump, who used profanity to describe, or at least to give a position on Venezuela on Friday, much to the surprise of everyone in the room, including myself. I can't even repeat what was said by President Trump. I'll be home for about 2 weeks, about a month. TAT will send letters to the station. It will be a shambles. So you can go and do that investigation yourself. So I recognize the utterances, the military positioning in the region. It speaks to something, and again, we're not trying to fan the flames of fear here or put people in some kind of place of confusion, but from the outside looking in, it seems like it's something else at play. And if indeed that's the case, well, my goodness. Ourselves, Trinidad and Tobago, and the region will have to truly brace ourselves. I mean, obviously, we don't want that kind of energy. Naturally, we have been putting the position point forward, at least the rest of the region. Our Prime Minister would have said this is not a zone of peace. I beg to differ. I mean, we would have had our internal problems, but generally, our region, we have known peace. The only place that really, again, it's not even their fault. It's based on foreign policy and, unfortunately, corruption from within. Haiti, they would have had struggles for decades. So they themselves had that particular issue. Of course, we go back to that Cold War period with Cuba and the U.S. and Russia and the position that the U.S. still hold towards Cuba. So they would have had some peril over the years. But generally, this part of the world, this part of the region, Trinidad and Tobago, as I said last week and I continue to say, we know storm, we know tropical storm. Tobago experienced flora back in the 60s. So we had hurricane, we know earthquake. We know strikes. Yes, people would strike, walk out of office. We know tornado. We experienced that a couple of weeks ago. We know lots of perils, but if there's one thing we don't know, is war. We had, yes, our internal issue back in 1990, and that was dealt with, from within. But external war and external war within the space. The only bomb, let's be real, the only bomb that we know as Trinbagonians will consist of milk with granola, peanut, beetroot. Bomb is punch. We don't know anything outside of that. So again, I know the Prime Minister holds a particular position. She says Trinidad and Tobago first. And yes, all we could do is govern and treat with our jurisdiction. But if for any reason external forces decide to flare up and show up, I wonder what will be our position as not only our government, but also the citizenry. So I really, every morning, pray and ask that this military flexing remains just that. If indeed they're saying it's a particular policy position on law and order and they don't want to bring drugs into their country, okay, we hear you. But if it goes beyond that, well, we'll have to say to ourselves, we've been duped, like we have seen many times before in other parts of the world where the policy position is for one thing, but then ultimately, when you look at the end result, you recognize it was just smokes and mirrors to really go after whether it's regime change or to go after the natural resources. I mean, we have seen this playbook time and time again. So again, all I suggest this morning, and certainly it's not to raise no alarm, but we have to look at not only the internal developments, but keep our eyes on some of the decisions and the rhetoric and the utterances out of Washington, and hope that it remains just that, that verbal exchange as opposed to anything else. We look at other developments via The Guardian on this Tuesday morning, and indeed, as mentioned, it was a wet weekend, and I'm looking at some of the, oh my goodness, page 8 will give you a deeper perspective as to what happened, especially in the central region. I have to say kudos to the mayor and the councillor, despite the long weekend, and I'm sure they would have had their personal family engagements and whatever. It's a weekend, people, you need to sometimes take a little relax. But when you're a councillor, when you're a mayor and there's a disaster in your area, you have to show up. And I have to say kudos for them for being there to help out the residents. And yes, it says here via page 8, flooding dampens Diwali celebrations in part of central Charleville, Akbar Road, heavy rains, inundated homes, flooding. It was a real shambles. Even the Answer Service Department there in Charleville, if you see water, it was really tough. Even for those who went hiking, right? There were some folks, about 40 hikers, went out this weekend, and they were trapped by the rising river water. So that story and others, of course, here on page 8. But nonetheless, it was a great weekend. Many across the country had a chance to visit family. We hope that within all of the festivities, there was indeed that moment of reflection and that true understanding of light over darkness, good over evil, knowledge over ignorance. Great Diwali weekend yet again. Let's head now to the back page. It's some cricket action. That's right. Now, we are getting ourselves ready for game number 2. Right? We have some new, well, like I said, new faces. I mean, regular faces, but because of some injuries, Hussain and Simmons drafted into the squad for the remaining ODI matches against Bangladesh. So that development there on page 38. But what we're seeing there is some action from England and New Zealand. Actually, England won this one by 65 runs. Beautiful shot there. Full swing there with Harry Brook. Of course, football action, international and local. International is Champions League for those who love their European football, and for the local side of things, the Trinidad and Tobago Professional League, the Professional Football League, kicks off on Friday in Tobago. Tobago getting lots of games this time around, and the season is going straight into next year. We were there. I was there actually for the launch on Sunday at the VIP room of the Hazley Crawford Stadium. Kudos to the CEO Antoine, to TTFA, all those involved in making this 4th installment of the Trinidad and Tobago Professional Football League Tier 1 possible. And action kicks off with Jabalate versus Police, Dwight York Stadium, right there in the heart of the carnival this week in Tobago. This game is happening at the Dwight York Stadium in Bacalat. Sweet Tobago. So all the best to all the teams. Remember, Defence Force went unbeaten last time around. So let's see if anybody could clip the Defence Force wing this time for the season 4. All the best to the players. We go to the brief. Someone is bubbling a pot. What a beautiful picture indeed. I'm looking at Cheryl Boodoo. Turns a pot there of bhaji during the Boodoo and Singh's family Diwali celebration. This is in St. James. And let me tell you, St. James, they come out there. That's one thing with St. James. It's such a melting pot. I spent my teen years in St. James. I mean, for those who know the history, you know, But if you don't know, I'll remind you, born in Sando, spent the formative years in Erin, went to Komoto, then we moved to St. James. So that's really my movement. I wouldn't say we move a lot. It was just based on school and mommy, of course, getting a promotion in the post office. So she was the postmistress and, you know, she would go to the quarters and stuff. So we would have made the move. But I think it gave me a nice, well-rounded, truly a great foundation to kind of get that South upbringing, a little touch of country in Komoto, and then get the action of the city in my teen and adventurous years. And St. James is a place where when it's Diwali, they go all out. When it's Jose, they go all out. And of course, Christian time, well, Christmas time with the many Christians who live in this space. So it's a space where Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and everybody in between, they live harmoniously. And St. James is really a unique place. And St. James, I'll tell you, they have like their own independent status. Nobody in St. James calls or says they're from the West. They're just from St. James. Nobody from St. James says I live in the West. They're living in St. James. So good morning to you, St. James. Great, great years. Let's head now to the break. Timothy Hamill-Smith joins me, a political leader of Hope, to discuss the political landscape and to give the budget debate collapse and really give some further perspective on budget 2026. Timothy Hamill-Smith, political leader, Hope. He joins me next.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488, 701-6680, 728-6786, or visit our website to order.
Food Basket. Food Basket, nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. For everyday low price, things real nice. Come in once, but to come back twice. Wholesale, retail, everything for you. A remush, I wanna shop where go view. Food Basket, the nation's #1 supermarket, bakery, restaurant, meat market, fresh producers, everything fantastic. Food Basket, Marketplace Go View, where shopping is a pleasure and the price is right.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Recession have you down? Don't lose hope. Head on down to Tire Clinic for the recession deals. Big savings with our road hazard warranty on Dunlop, Sumitomo, and Falcon tires. Available at Tire Clinic, Couva, Chaguanas, and Pleasance Park. Tire Clinic, a tire for every need. Call 636-8973 or 636-2958.
Timothy Hamill-Smith, political leader of Hope, joins me on the Zoom line this morning for an in-depth and impactful conversation. Great to see you as always, Mr. Hamill-Smith. Good morning.
Morning, Jason. Thank you. Actually, I should tell you that we've transformed from Hope into a think tank now called Nova Policy Development Lab. But
no problem. I'll definitely.
We keep our eye on the politics, as it were.
Of course, and indeed, I will thanks for that. Thanks for that information, and we'll definitely keep note of that. We had the budget presentation last Monday. The finance minister stood for over 3 hours. Well, for over 3 hours, he presented the fiscal policy for the next year. Many would have had a chance to weigh in. I'm sure you would have heard and listened to all the arguments for and against, but I'd love to know your position on the government's first major and formal fiscal document, really, and their map. What's your biggest takeaway from Budget 2026?
Well, one of the things, certainly looking at the response from the public to the initial budget, it would appear that it went down well, that most people saw it as an initiative that perhaps And of course, all of these things are both in the details and in the implementation. And I think the countries are waiting to see what form government will actually take when it starts to implement the various policies that the Minister of Finance rolled out. And I assume as the budget debate goes on, you will find more ministers coming forward in the coming week to say what their particular ministry will do in order to impact positively on Trinidad and Tobago. So that, we look forward to more than just a budget. And of course, the opposition will be there to point out any pitfalls, I'm sure.
Based on the current climate, you think there was a missed opportunity in any particular sector? You would have loved to see a focus in a particular direction from the presentation?
I think the focus was correct. There's some emphasis that I would prefer to see. For instance, you talk about the public service and the 10% that they have said that they will grant to the public service. And that was a promise on the campaign trail. But from my perspective, 10% is not, that is an opportunity that we ought not to miss to transform the whole public service. I'm a great believer in pay for performance. So yes, I think you ought and you deserve to get 10%. But from the public's perspective, we want to see service. And the bureaucracy has been for many years strangling Trinidad and Tobago. And if we can use this as a moment when you said, yes, you want 10%, but we, the public, and the public through, of course, the government, say, in order to get your 10%, we need you to hit certain targets, certain transformative targets, then it is an opportunity to transform in many ways, because the public service touches everybody at some point.
Yeah, indeed.
And the bureaucracy is really stifling, and therefore keeping back Trinidad and Tobago, in my view. And I would like to see that next move towards transforming the public service.
And last week, I had the Minister of Labour on the set with me, and I spoke to the same point you just raised, where you're treating with productivity, return on investment. Yes, there is a particular mindset within the private sector and the public sector, and granted, the latter, there are many who put in the hours, work really hard. There are some who also go there and there's a almost relaxed approach, as it were, knowing that chances are you could, get away with certain things come late, you don't have to go the extra mile. So if you could probably drill down a little bit deeper. Yes, you mentioned metrics, putting certain targets. If you could probably give me an example as to what could be done to truly measure productivity within the public sector.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that in terms of the public service, we need constitutional change. I think that the commissions have outlived their usefulness, quite frankly. And I just don't see how service commissions, the Public Service Commission, could have an influence on 60,000 public servants. Whereas when it was initiated back in '62, you had a far smaller public service. Today, I think that we've outgrown that. It is time for change there. One of the stumbling blocks to change has been to say, well, we require a special majority in order to deal with the commissions. And that is so in some regards, but not in others. What at the last, public opportunity to put in, you remember that the last government had asked us to put in the public to put in what they feel the Constitution ought to do. One of the things we showed was that it is possible to alter how the Public Service Commission works, because under the Constitution, they are allowed to delegate all of their powers. And we've done it very weakly, some few things, but we need to do it in a much more holistic fashion. So that's a start, that's a pivot in which we have to commence our entry point. We need to delegate all the power of the Public Service Commission to the permanent secretaries. The Public Service Commission remains there, but to have oversight of the permanent secretaries in the top tier of the public service. But the permanent secretaries themselves must, we expect them to perform, they must have, and this is modern management. If you want me to perform, I must have the authority to determine, and to engage staff. If you expect me to perform, I must have the power to discipline. I must have the power to direct what should be done. And that's really where we've fallen down over many, many years. Yeah. But here comes an opportunity where they've said, we're going to put 10% on the table. And I'm saying, well, that is a time when we must say, you get your 10%, but these are the criteria, and the government are best placed to determine what outcomes they want for their 10%.
Let me ask you, I want to take you back to your time overseeing the Senate. Of course, we know the upper house and the lower house. It's same building, different energy, but sometimes the same kind of tension. Obviously, we have seen within the lower house recently utterances, movements back and forth, the collapse of the budget debate, people talking over the speaker, calls of bias from the speaker from one side. What's been your general perspective, looking on the sidelines like all of us, as to the conduct of not only the parliamentarians, but the oversight, really, the refereeing, as it were, of all these big personalities with their big positions?
Well, I think it's fairly much par for the course. On the other hand, as citizens, we want to see outcomes and not just, badinage and old talk in the parliament. I mean, you mentioned the collapse. I'm amazed that the PNM fell for that. They're past masters of that very, approach. And they fell for it. You expected differently from them. But yes, the Senate is a more, I think, conservative, more dedicated, and not to just platform speaking. We as citizens would prefer if our politicians don't use the parliament as a political platform. There's another time and a moment for that. And there's a time for seriousness and getting things done. So yes, it is my hope that we will focus on what has to be done in order to transform Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed. Let's look further afield. During my monologue this morning, I mentioned, yes, we have our particular policy position. The Prime Minister said Trinidad and Tobago first, and she ensures the safety and security of the citizens. But we look at some of the rhetoric and the utterances out of Washington, D.C. by President Donald Trump. Many look at what's happening via the southern seas and the military buildup as position for something greater. We don't know. They said right now it's a law and order operation to eliminate drug trafficking and the overflow of drugs into the U.S. Your perspective on all this that's brewing in our southern seas, your take on the geopolitical landscape of the day.
All right. So let's begin with the United States. We certainly cannot control and direct what the United States intends to do. Regardless of what rhetoric comes from us, the United States will do what they consider best for themselves. Having said that, you mentioned, of course, zone of peace and so on. But, quietly maybe, and not so quietly, Trinidad and Tobago as an entity has been facing the importation of guns and drugs. And we have come to the point where gangs, and one was getting the feeling that gangs in many ways were getting the upper hand, and therefore, infiltrating, and more areas were coming under their control. So to say that Trinidad and Tobago is not quite apart from that, and we're a peaceful country, things were changing, and not in a way that we would like to happen.
But I'll tell you this, and I'll let you continue, but I think when people mention zone of peace, especially our Caribbean neighbors, they're looking at the entirety of the region as opposed to individual jurisdictions. Because, as I said this morning, the only areas within our Caribbean space that would have known strife and rebellion over the years would have been, well, unfortunately, Haiti. They're still going through that today, and our friends in Cuba during the Cold War. But generally, our region of Grenada too would have had their situation in the early 80s. I was probably 3-4 years old. But I think people, when they talk of the zone of peace, they're speaking generally to the collection of islands, this chain of islands called the Caribbean.
All right. So from a Trinidad and Tobago perspective, yes, which forms part of the larger CARICOM region, one of the things we had to do, in my view, is to stem the flow of guns and drugs coming into Trinidad and Tobago, because that is what was underpinning gangs, killings, murders, and the taking over of communities. So that was a point at which we had to make some intervention. So ask yourself, how do we make that intervention? I would certainly, Mr. Pandey had talked about back in the late 90s about a ship rider agreement. So because we don't have the kind of vessels that would allow us to interdict all of these coming in of drugs, we had to have some allies out there in order to work with us to bring that under control. And of course, therefore, you would look, there are other people besides the United States who are in this area that can be used. There's the Netherlands, there's the United Kingdom, but I felt that the best initiative should come through CARICOM impacts. They're located in Barbados. They do have connections with Interpol. They do have relations with our allies. Needed to have an intervention, and an intervention perhaps that we should have over many years have started the process rather than let somebody else take over the engine, as it were, which is what you get in between the United States and Venezuela.
Well, let me ask, even if there's a short-term success based on the military presence, and if they're here to give that particular buffer and blanket of protection as it pertains to the drugs and guns coming into the space, I wonder when they sail back up north, because naturally they will not be here forever, how do we now mend and bring the dialogue back to a place of normalcy with Venezuela, who are looking at us in a particular way based on our policy position and the fact that we have supported this military presence?
We need to have Venezuela, our closest neighbors.
Yeah, 7 miles.
Closer than Tobago. Mm-hmm. So we do need to have a diplomatic channel. And with Venezuela, of course, dragon gas is what comes to mind right away. So that's not going to happen. And that's a real dance, if you like, of diplomacy that has to occur if, in fact, we have to get both the United States, and because they're stopping our exercising our rights under our license, and we have to have that arrangement with Venezuela. So there is a difficult transition that has to be made. We do need to have continuing and ongoing diplomatic relations with Venezuela, I have no doubt.
Yeah, no, indeed, we need to. I mean, that's our neighbor, but I wonder if at this point in time, especially with the air of uncertainty. Where do we even start? And should we have maintained a neutral? Many of the, experts and people who deal with international relations were speaking to a place of us kind of balancing the act and staying neutral and kind of staying out of the conversation. But very early, we would have given support to especially the strikes, which in itself is causing another debate. These strikes on all these vessels heading God knows where.
Yeah, and certainly I don't think Trinidad and Tobago could have said that they're supporting strikes on these vessels and blowing them out of the water.
Well, remember it was said that you killed them violently, that utterance came from our Prime Minister when the first vessel was blown away.
Certainly, that wouldn't be my approach, but there are two messages that a government needs to send. It needs to send a message, if you like, to the United States, and it needs to send a message to our people, our gangs, our difficulties here in Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, there is a need for pushing back, if you like, for the rhetoric to rise to a different level, to let criminals, gangs in Trinidad and Tobago know that the government is in charge. There cannot be free rein, and we have to bring that under control. The Prime Minister, is perhaps better placed than me. She is better placed than me to feel that, look, if we support the United States, if we use a kind of rhetoric, then we're more likely to get support from the United States when we want it. Having said that, you are still left with a conundrum of how do you deal with Venezuela? And that is very difficult to work out, and that's going to be a challenge. And there is, we have to see how that is going to unfold in the coming weeks, months, maybe. I don't know. I don't pretend to predict as to what outcome will come from this.
Indeed, it is a time of uncertainty.
There's no negative fallout for Trinidad and Tobago.
It is indeed a time of uncertainty. But I do agree, as we wrap things up, on your last point, the latter of the 2 points, where we are seeing a different approach, especially on the local side, a different tone, a different, a more serious approach to crime and criminality. And I think the current administration are sending definitely a strong message. And I think anyone involved in that line of work, that line of business, have to really think twice. It's a different time. And the Prime Minister said she's...
indicate to you that rhetoric is not unimportant.
Yeah, but I'm just a bit wary of sometimes our position as it pertains to stuff external and how it will be perceived by not only our neighbors, Venezuela, but the CARICOM, because recently I think the Prime Minister said that she stands alone when we are considering the UN Security Council position.
You see that last CARICOM initiative, not initiative, but they set out a bulletin which was rather mild, I thought. And you will see that it was carefully crafted in order to not put, I thought, a bad light on Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, it didn't participate on it, but it wasn't very, there were things that CARICOM have said in far more stronger terms. This one was rather mild. So my suspicion is when the CARICOM ministers have met, they've said, we understand Trinidad and Tobago, you need to do what you have to do. And we have to do what we have to do. Let's continue to be friends. That's a message I took away from that last bulletin issued by CARICOM.
Well,
so they understand why we take certain positions, I gather.
I just don't want us to be isolated as we wrap things up, because even though we are all independent, I sincerely believe that we are still very much dependent on each other when it comes to business, commerce, travel.
You go back and read that last bulletin. I suspect outside of that, in discussions and negotiations across the table, that there was this sense of CARICOM recognizing, look, Trinidad has in its own interest to take a different position. And we are not, there was no slings thrown out. to say, hey, Trinidad and Tobago, you misbehaving, come along with us. There was nothing of that.
Yes.
So you have to watch what is not said in addition to what is actually said. And I know the rhetoric from persons who are better positioned than I to comment on foreign policy have said other things. But nonetheless, you look back and look at that statement, and I think that we're not isolated from CARICOM. I still think there are, diplomatic exchanges, and there's no animosity, let's put it that way, between us and the rest of CARICOM.
Timothy Hamill-Smith, always a pleasure, always a joy chatting with you.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Yes.
Look forward to another time when we can talk.
Most definitely. Timothy Hamill-Smith getting the ball rolling on this Tuesday morning. We take a pause and we come back and we touch base with one of our regular guests. This time around, a different tone to the conversation. Dr. Indira Rampersad. We're treating with cricket's first revolutionary, and it's a book launch, and we're treating with Sir Frank Worrell and his contribution off and on the pitch. Dr. Indira Rampersad up next.
Welcome to ABC Doors and Windows, TNT's #1 destination for the best quality and widest variety of doors and windows. Enhance your space with our premium wooden, steel panels, fiberglass, and steel security doors, complemented by our aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows. Shop for the best quality and service at ABC Doors and Windows. Visit our impressive showroom at 1 Chancatrace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to get started. Trust ABC for a better choice.
Folks, take a look at all these medical conditions. What does it have in common? This, ITIS. But what does ITIS really mean?
The suffix itis denotes inflammation of a specified organ or tissue.
ITIS really means inflammation. How do we combat chronic inflammation? Through lifestyle changes. Then, and only then, make sure you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids.
Always consult a qualified medical professional before starting any supplements.
Get your home ready for Christmas with La Vega's Big Plant Sale. From October 24th to November 2nd, enjoy 20% off all plants, pots, soil, fertilizers, fruit trees, palms, herbs, indoor plants, flowering plants, fragrant plants, ground cover, and more. While you shop, the family can enjoy the nature park, ATVs, and pools. Visit La Vega, San Fernando, or Grand Couva, both branches blooming with savings. Call for details. La Vega's Plant Sale. This one sale you don't want to miss.
What do you think of Kamala's outfit? Now, her outfit. If her outfit is worn inside, is it really her outfit? All right. We're going. Are we doing people's work? Yeah. Where? No, people's work. It's done on CNC3 on the rundown. Oh, you thought it was here? Yeah, but no, it's done on CNC.
Always a joy to have with me Dr. Indira Rampersad, Head of Department of Political Science at the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine. I would have mentioned during our commercial break a sincere congratulations on your national award. Dr. Rampersad, well deserved.
Thank you so much, Dita. Much appreciated.
You know, as we look to this conversation here, and it's a book launch that's happening literally today, all right, at UWI from 6 p.m., it's to treat with the life and times of Sir Frank Worrell. So many know of his exploits on the pitch. A great cricketer, he's mentioned with the 3 Ws. You know, you grew up hearing about the legacy of these men, of their contribution and their records via the pitch. But much, I didn't even realize, honestly, until I got the notes, of his contribution off the field of play. He was considered anti-colonialist, a revolutionary, so many different so many different labels and accolades, as it were, to his contribution. Could you tell us what will be the biggest takeaway for those who attend later, and who is invited actually to this book launch?
The public is invited, JW, because we want everyone to understand, to learn, you know, what a phenomenal contribution was made by Sir Frank Worrell, not just in the cricketing arena, but as you rightly mentioned, you know, in the fight against colonialism, and more specifically, a confrontation with the West Indies Cricket Board of Control. At the time, you know, there was a huge confrontation because he was discriminated on several bases, mainly on the basis of race. But he took that struggle, you know, to the wider arena for, you know, for justice, for equality, for, you know, better wages. He, you know, in some respects, he acted as a trade unionist. He was fighting for wages for cricketers, black and brown cricketers of all ilks, because at the start of his career as a cricketer, you know, they were not paid. JW, they were not given any pay, and he started to clamor for wages for the cricketers in the West Indies team. So this is an untold story, you know, a narration that the side of Sir Worrell that the public is unaware of. And this book was launched, you know, it's written by our Vice Chancellor, University of the West Indies, Hilary Beckles. It's his 15th book, actually. You know, so Hilary is very prolific. He's edited a number of volumes, co-edited a number of volumes. And this one comes in the week of another book called Britain's Black Death. But he's been writing about cricket for a long time. However, he took the discourse to another level, where he linked the whole saga of cricket with that of decolonization and a confrontation for justice, a struggle for justice by Sir Hilary. So, you know, we invited the public to attend this at 6 p.m. this evening at the Learning Resource Center. We're going to have, you know, Professor Selwyn Cudjoe, who received the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago this year, also making contributions. We have Dr. Roy McCree, who's now the Dean of the Faculty of Sports, making contributions. I will be chairing the proceedings. We have Justice Anthony Gafoor, who will be doing some readings, some excerpts, you know, and yeah, so JW, why this book is being launched here, it was actually launched already at the Cave Hill campus in Barbados and at the Mona campus in Jamaica. There have been 2 launches because this book spans Caribbean, it spans the region and beyond, because it tells of Sir Worrell's, Sir Frank's life in Barbados, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Jamaica. He went to England, Manchester. He also toured the Caribbean, toured England, toured South Africa, toured India, toured Pakistan, you know, toured Australia, and all of this is recorded. The cricket theme, you know, coexist side by side. So the book straddles 2 themes: the cricket theme and the revolutionary theme. But the revolutionary theme is the one that takes center stage in this book.
Well, what I recognize, Dr. Rampasad, whereas cricket now, it's entertainment. It probably still, it would have always been entertainment, obviously, but, you know, people go to cricket now, short pants, drinks, coolers, it's a big party. Back then, I recognize from when I'm going through the notes, it almost like cricket was used as a tool to break down colonial and political barriers. It was a platform to bring a certain self-esteem to people in the region, and folks like Sir Frank Worrell were leading that charge.
Yes, and it also gave an opportunity, and I think it still does to an extent, to, you know, poor, working class, rural people, because he was that. That is what he was. That's where he came from. To rise, to, you know, upward mobility, to progress in society. I mean, Sir Frank Worrell was just a teenage boy in Barbados when he, you know, very, very interesting. He formed his first cricket team in school as a teenage boy, and he called them the Starvation 11. And this emerged out of discourse at the time, a colonial discourse at the time, about ye starvelings, you know, the peasants, the working class people who were under colonial oppression. He was born in 1924. We were still under colonialism at the time, and unfortunately, he died at a very young age. I don't know, many people don't know that he died at the age of 42 from cancer, from leukemia. He died at the age of 42, but the contribution that he made in his short life is so enormous that this is what this book really seeks to highlight, JW. You know, and in several areas of the book, we see the floundering West Indies team, as we see now with regard to Test cricket. You know, so I have several notes when I'm reading it that, you know, this is just like now. But it was the heyday, as you said, it was the heyday of West Indies cricket, Test cricket. And, you know, you say there is a lot of passion for it now, but the passion seems to be more for the T20s and the one-day international amongst the cricketing audience in the Caribbean, and not so much for Test cricket. And similarly, the performance of the cricketers, while they do very, very well in these short games, the T20 and the one-day international, the World Cup one-days, the World Cup series, again, T20, they're not performing up to par in Test cricket, as we've been seeing. You know, we've been losing one after the next of late. Yeah. So the book highlights some areas where the team wasn't doing well, but generally it was the heyday, you know, particularly in the 60s when Sir Frank was in his last phase there. Yeah. The West Indies cricketing was at its height.
Let me ask you, Dr. Rampasad, who are some of the other guest speakers that will join you for the discussion, that panel discussion later on at UE from 6? And what part of UE is it happening? Which particular auditorium?
Right, so it's 6 p.m. at the Learning Resource Center. Okay. I think everyone knows the LRC. And so, like I said, it's Professor Selwyn Kodjo. Because the book speaks about, you know, CLR James, it goes into history. There are layers of history which are unraveled within that whole revolutionary team. So we have Professor Selwyn Kodjo, who himself is like I said, Order Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, but also he's a historian and academic, very, very prolific academic as well in terms of his publications. We have the Dean of the Faculty of Sports, Dr. Roy McCree. We have Justice Anthony Gaffur doing some readings. Because he's primarily a judge, but a mediator, specialist in alternative dispute resolution. And Sir Frank actually had done a lot of that, you know, negotiations to the height, mediation to some extent in the book. And myself chairing the proceedings, Sir Hilary, of course, will speak on the book as the author himself. Yeah. So we would like the public to attend. It is open to the public.
Indeed. I want to thank you so much, as always. A great talking point. Cricket's first revolutionary, the book launch, later on today at UE LRC, detailing the life and times of Sir Frank Worrell. Thank you so much, Dr. Rampasad. All the best.
Thank you so much for having me, JW. So we'll talk about politics another day. I know you want to do that. So.
Yes, hopefully soon. Let's see what can happen, right? Yes.
Okay, this is politics at a different level.
Yes.
At a different era. Indeed. Okay, thank you very much.
All the best, Dr. Indira Rampasad, touching base. Let's take that pause. We come back with our daily health tip. See you soon.
At Bagwansing's, Port of Spain and Chaguanas, we are committed to providing quality products for all major building projects. Let's build together with rebars and beams, BRC coils and mats, RHS and angles, roofing sheets and purlins, lumber, plywood and MDF. Bagwansing's, building homes, building communities, building TNT for over 60 years. Bagwansing's, Port of Spain and Chaguanas, building value every day.
Don't forget, we are Food Basket Superstore right here in Arima. Come see for yourself. From stationeries to household items and so much more right here at Food Basket Superstore in Arima.
I really love the variety. There's something for everyone here.
Feeling off balance? Your body might be missing AMPK. It's your natural reset, regulating how your body stores fat and processes sugar. Berberine Plus activates AMPK, helping your cells use energy better, reduce fat, and keep sugar levels in check. Berberine Plus, now at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide.
CLR is your turn. The Roadie Lovers comedy show is coming to the east. Cipriani Liba College. One show only. Sunday the 2nd of November, 6:30 p.m. baby. Tickets available at Electronics Arena, Doman Shoe Store, Long Circular Mall, Anthony's Floral, Val Park, Gay Square Stores, Eastgate Mall, West Mall, Brentwood Plaza, Chagonas, and C3 Center Mall, San Fernando. And IslandEtickets.com. For more info, call 683-0356. Eastside, are you ready to laugh? Well, clock it.
Up next, your daily health tip.
The Daily Health Tip, brought to you by Omega XL, where health is wealth. For millions of people living with asthma, even something as simple as going for a jog can become a struggle. Exercise-induced bronchoconstriction, or EIB, affects up to 90% of asthma sufferers. It's a condition where physical activity causes the airways to narrow, making it hard to breathe and even harder to enjoy life. While medications are effective, they sometimes come with side effects, such as rapid heartbeat, shakiness, or tremors, especially with high doses. That's why more and more people are turning to natural options that complement traditional treatments. Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement rich in omega-3 fatty acids, the kind that reduce inflammation, support lung function, and help you breathe easier. Backed by science, Omega XL's unique formula helps to reduce airway inflammation, improve breathing after exercise, lower reliance on asthma medication, and decrease the substances that make breathing harder. The truth is, our modern diets are overloaded with omega-6 fats, which can fuel inflammation. Omega XL helps rebalance that, providing your body with omega-3s from the green-lipped mussel, a source shown to deliver results without the fishy aftertaste or digestive discomfort. One study found that pharmaceutical-grade omega-3 fatty acids significantly reduced airway hyperresponsiveness and the need for medication in athletes with EIB. That's the power of omega-3s, and that's the promise of Omega XL. You shouldn't have to choose between movement and comfort. With Omega XL, you don't have to. Fuel your lungs with nature's anti-inflammatory. Omega XL, available nationwide at your nearest pharmacy. Because asthma shouldn't stop your movement. Always consult with a trained medical professional before taking any supplements. The Daily Health Tip, brought to you by Omega XL, where health is wealth.
Good morning. I'm Jens Levin with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. The government has received a preliminary report on the possible restart of the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery. Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal confirmed that the 12-member committee led by former Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine completed its initial work and submitted its findings. They were appointed to assess the feasibility and cost of restarting the operations at the Guaracara refinery. In a contribution to the 2026 budget debate in Parliament, Opposition Leader Penelope Beckles accused the government of going silent on the issue, pointing out that Finance Minister Devindranath Tanku made no mention of it during his budget presentation. But Dr. Munilal says the government has options, and in the coming days there will be exciting news on the refinery's future.
It requires some more negotiations and some more work, but it is something that we're extremely pleased that the committee is finalizing their work. They have done it, and we'll go forward with that, and we will outline some of the issues, some of the challenges, and the future, which we hope will be bright. And I'm hoping that, not by this Diwali, but by next Diwali, we should be lighting up as well the refinery in Pointe-à-Pierre.
However, former Minister of Energy Stuart Young is not convinced and has questions about the refinery restart, namely, how much would it cost, who was going to pay for it, and where the crude oil was coming from. Lenore Burnley says she is leaving the government to God for their response to her son's death in a narco-trafficking strike. Her son, Chad Joseph, was killed last week. She denies he had ever been charged with drug trafficking. His pending case was for ammunition. She says the memorial service for her son will take place on Wednesday at his grandmother's home. As the Prime Minister and her administration continue to support the U.S. strike, even with confirmation that 2 Trinidadians had been killed last week and one, Burnley was resigned. Unprecedented flooding brought misery to dozens of families along Akbar Road, Charleville yesterday, as heavy rains inundated homes and disrupted Diwali celebrations across central Trinidad. Residents spent much of the day cleaning up after nearly 2 hours of torrential rainfall triggered flash flooding and left streets submerged and properties damaged. Those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another update at 8 a.m. on the TBC Radio Network.
Quality food to fill your basket. Get it all at Southern Food Basket. Fresh goods on every aisle with best prices. For the best market around, high quality meats pound for pound. Get the best for less. Start shopping. Go to Southern Food Basket. Shopping how you like it. High quality at the best prices. Every aisle just wide and special. So spend less at Southern Food Basket. Good food at great prices for sure. Come get what you're looking for.
Need to upgrade to a better phone system? Contact the experts at Voice Outsourcing. In office or remote, our phone system allows you to take every call. Grow your bottom line by offering excellent customer service. Call 217-1895 or 628-8182 or email today.
Millions of people are attacked by harmful mouth bacteria. The root cause of bad breath, gum problems, cavities, plaque, and tartar. That's why Colgate combined the best science and technology in Colgate Total. Unlike others, its superior formula fights bacteria and creates a powerful protective barrier for up to 24 hours to prevent them from coming back. Take control of your oral health with Colgate Total.
Whether you're an athlete, a business professional, or simply someone who values their health, Omega XL can empower you to keep doing what you love. Don't let joint discomfort hold you back.
Live long, stay strong with the XL brand.
Muscle rock.
Hey, welcome back. It's your second hour for today, of course, the 21st of October. It's Tuesday, the day after our Diwali holiday. Long weekend for many. Here's hoping you had a good and restful long weekend. It's time to open up the lines, give you a chance to get in, to check in. Here's where I sit. Listen, we have a little discussion here and there, but it's open forum. Tell me what's on your mind. 624-8721, 627-8658. How did you enjoy the Diwali weekend? What's your plan for the rest of the month? Of course, we are going to transition from now, I guess, immediately into, I'm sure very soon you'll be hearing all the different Christmas ads and Christmas promotions. And somewhere in between there, promotions also for Carnival, because it's going to be a short season in 2026. So I'm sure lots of the music and the different promotions will start pretty soon. Let's head to Pleasantville to start things off. Good morning, Southland.
Good morning, my brother.
Yes, Pleasantville. Morning.
Listen, you know, I don't know, I haven't been on for a while, but I was kind of out of the country a bit. And one of my visits was to Cuba. I don't know whether we in this country seriously looking at what's taking place, Jason. And you know what is alarming is that we have today in this country, I'm not saying you, But there are people in this country today who are on the airways, on various talk shows and various programs like yours, that are from the younger generation, and they have not seen, and their history is not being. They're not too anchored with what's taking place and what happened before, and how it should eliminate the present here today. This is a dangerous situation that we are playing as a country. And when Kamala Prasad-Bissessar speaks, it is referred to out there as Trinidad and Tobago. We. Everybody gets painted with that brush. This is very dangerous, and what is even alarming is a failure, and it's a history of not talking to the media, hiding. I don't know if she believes that when she hides in her private residence, she's using her private residence for official state businesses. And she's head of the National Security Council, and we have to be concerned about security matters and security issues and sensitive files and stuff. Where are they being stored? But apart from that, this is a dangerous situation, and we cannot sit idly by as a country and continue to go down the road and say, well, God is a Trinity and we'll put it in the hands of God and all this other nonsense. We're seeing what's happening in the States right now. The people in this country have to get serious about our situation, our future. And the time has come and will come when we have to take to the streets to prevent what we are seeing going down the road here right now. This is very dangerous. And for what's happening there with the United Nations Security Council and the utterances from our goodly Prime Minister that she doesn't care tells a lot. I'll say more for another time.
All right, Pleasantville. Thank you. Thank you, Pleasantville. Let's take some more. Bamboo, you're live. Bamboo Settlement. Good morning.
Morning, JW.
Welcome.
Now, JW, after a quiet independence where the fireworks is concerned, and also, I know on the campaign trail, the Prime Minister did promise to deal with noise pollution. She didn't define how or what, whether it was fireworks, but I assume it would be that. Now, yesterday was a nice day. I mean, you asked the question, but until the fireworks. And I want to say to the politicians, the longer you drag your feet on this legislation to regulate this industry, you see the blood of all those dogs that got knocked down who escaped that intense fireworks yesterday. The blood of those animals, I say, and this is my view, is upon you. Until you all do something about it. This has been going on too long, and we need to do something about that. And that needs to be regulated. I don't know where people, there's here things like people suffering and they're catching the tail, and they want to pay the landlord don't want to pay the tax and the tenants and all of that. The kind of thousands who went up in smoke yesterday, maybe they were probably looking at it and they'll look to bring more tax on, because where you finding the money? I mean, everybody must have some form of recreation, but at what cost? And again, I'm calling on the government to deal with this noise pollution, this fireworks. Something needs to be done. We have OLS coming up again, another disaster going to happen, right? This big hullabaloo about no fireworks in the savannah and the zoo around that area. Welcome the move. But what I saw yesterday and what happened yesterday, it was disgusting. Where the animals and the elderly are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Bamboo Settlement. And of course, last week, Officer Ali was here with me, and he gave stern warning to all those who were going to, do the fireworks this weekend. But clearly, people went ahead. They went ahead. Let's head to Faisabad. Faizo, good morning.
Good morning, Brother Jason. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome, Faisal.
Jason, I am very glad to see the government is making a step in the right direction with the employment situation and the rollout they had over the weekend. I hope it bears the expected fruits that we so desire. Yes? The other thing, I would have listened to Mr. Brian Manning. And that has been the most disingenuous contribution I have heard from an opposition member in a very long time, if not the worst. It is the worst. I mean, clearly the government would have stated that the taxes would have been applied to people who are having income from their rental property. Mr. Manning is trying to give the impression that it is only be applied to residential property, and that is not the truth. Yes? Creating panic and an attempt to create panic and hysteria. Another thing, Jason, you know, I think you're in the wrong job with them. Trust me, brother, you're in the wrong job. I want you to become a blogger. I want you to make money.
Want me to become a what's that you say?
A blogger.
A blogger? Oh my goodness. No.
You see the kind of money bloggers are being paid, Jason?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it happens on both sides, huh? And it's been going on for years.
Jason, I am not disputing that. What I am advising you to do, my brother, is to go a place where it's lucrative.
Yeah. Well, I hear you, Faizo. I hear you, Faizo. Take it easy, Faizo. Me, blogger, for my name to call, IRL cool. Faizo, thanks a lot, man. Let's head to Santa Cruz. Good morning.
Good morning, Jay. How are you this morning? How is spending Diwali?
It was real nice for Santa Cruz, I must say. Really, really nice Diwali weekend.
Well, yeah, because she was having a good time in the Diwali outfit and things like that. You understand,
Of course.
I just have a couple of points to raise. First, the whole question of the killing of the person from Las Cuevas and the government, no response, and the continued words from the government, we continue to support the USA. And we're not saying that we're supporting America, but we're not supporting the manner in which people have been killed. They're just stating we're supporting the United States of America. And when you look at current issues, what's taking place in America right now, the American people is protesting against Donald Trump. And they are protesting against Donald Trump, and we here supporting him, and do not understand, if people protesting against their own father, then you have to ask yourself some questions. And the audacity of Satan, they're now the police going to investigate the killings in the city. You could ask the U.S. in terms of anything. So we have to be serious in terms of whether we're running a country based on our own principles or we're running a country based on America principle. And we have to be careful with the road that we're going down. The next thing, again, what the commissioner of police come out and end up stating, the acting commissioner, how that U.S. citizens mustn't go to U.S. Areas, which part you have U.S. building or whatever. I find that statement sound too kind of like somebody playing game with something, somebody wants to do something, and what I believe is that is a smoke screen to extend the state of emergency here in Trinidad and Tobago. I feel that is a smoke screen. Because for the U.S. to say, tell U.S. citizens, don't go in U.S. building, Jay, come on. Something had to be wrong with that. Something had to be wrong with that. This is Mr. Santa Cruz signing off this morning.
Take it easy, Santa Cruz. Take it easy. Let's at the Tabakit. Let's sit down the Southland. Tabakit, good morning.
A pleasant morning to you, Mr. Jason Williams.
Yes, Tabakit. Morning to you. Welcome.
I want to give you an advice. Do not let nobody cheer you on nothing. I'll tell you why. You see, Trinidadian, they are dangerous people. The same people as you on this morning. Go Jason Williams. Go Jason Williams. Be a blogger. And when you do get there and if they feel you say something what they don't like, is the same set of people will cook and they will go on TikTok, Facebook, and they will say, look.
Faizo, I was making joke, man, Tabakit. You know, I don't think Faizo was really serious.
You remember the last time you told me? And
Faizo just,
right.
Yeah.
But
that's
I still want to tell you, sometimes, you know, after you come up the studio, you might say, let me think about it. No thought whatsoever. No. You see what you here and how forming up, you bring issues, international issues. This is the Jason Williams I want. Don't go nowhere. But okay, I want to do a long time. It's like get ready for the water.
Tabakit breaking up. There, boy. I don't know what's going on with the connection, but I tell you this, Tabakit, if you're listening off air, remember I took the bold step and I took the deep dive into the political space and going in, realizing that, you know what, boy, this is a rough space. Not naive, knowing that, of course, obviously in advance, right, going in, but when you realize how rough it is sometimes, you know, you could look at the waters and the current, but when you go in and you realize, nah, boy, this thing will probably take me under. You pull yourself out and you come back to what your original format would have always been, country. And that's why I'm able to sit on the seat every morning and bring up the issues that will advance the interests of Trinidad and Tobago, because to me it's not about party ultimately, you know, it's about the country. And I wish our leaders, those who are in the driver's seat, whether they actually behind the wheel or in the passenger side at this point in time, whether administration who are governing and those in the opposition, if they could really put country first, you know, ultimately. Country first. What is best for country? And that's what I look at every single time. And when I make my utterance, so I put my commentary forward, or even when I listen to those who call, you try to at least grab the points that could make Trinidad and Tobago fulfill its true potential. And there is the potential here for greatness. We have everything in terms of the natural resources and the flora, the fauna. We have been so blessed. I think what we would have been lacking over decades, a particular direction, a particular vision. Look what China doing. China having a big meeting this week to formalize their 5-year plan. And there is no division in their vision. But here, there's always a division in our collective vision. You start something, somebody else come in, they stop it, and then it just goes to rusted grass, moss. We got to stop that. There needs to be a long-term plan, and we go into what's it. But again, you know, that calls for a whole different style of governance and government structure, which obviously we do subscribe to. But nonetheless, thanks for all the calls. Great commentary this morning. And yes, we continue to put country first. As a matter of fact, the conversation coming up with Karen Rose is to treat with just that, because we want to find ways to slow the brain drain. Yes, even though he's outside, he's still thinking about Trinidad and Tobago. And that's why I always enjoy our conversation. Karen Rose, digipreneur, he joins me next.
So the laughter continues. Your only foul to watch Corn is now at Central Bank Auditorium for 2 nights only. Saturday, October 25th at 8:30 p.m. and Sunday, October 26th at 6:30 p.m. Don't miss the play that some say is the funniest of all time. Tickets available now online and at the usual outlets. And from Monday, October 20th, 12 noon to 6 p.m. daily at the Central Bank box office. Your don't leave foul to watch Corn has been matching up audiences.
From Charles Chocolates, comes into flavor. Ping pong, everybody wants some. Roasted peanuts is the true #1. Ping pong, you better get a handful. This chocolate is so incredible. What's the snack everybody craves for? Ping pong bongs into flavor. Chocolate coated peanuts. Delicious top class A+. Ping pong. Ping pong. From Charles Chocolates, bongs into flavor.
Question: how much does a funeral go for these days? I guarantee the figure you're thinking is way smaller than the actual cost. Because even though life is priceless, death is real expensive. But CUNA Caribbean's Family Indemnity Plan can help for things like sudden funeral costs, plus the other bills left behind that could threaten your finances. And imagine, for a monthly payment of less than $70, you could cover up to 9 family members. And you don't have to take a medical exam to sign up. So don't stick. Get the Family Indemnity Plan. Why? Because it's a good thing. Trust me. CUNA Caribbean Insurance. For all people. Terms and conditions apply.
For those who try Omega XL and they say it didn't work, try it again.
Whatever I was using, this Omega is the best.
Remember, you deserve the best. Choose Omega XL, a supplement that I can assure you is committed to helping you live a long life and a strong life.
Live long, stay strong
with Omega XL.
Available nationwide. Visit your local pharmacy or health food store today.
Have no fear, the digipreneur is here. Karen Rose joins me on the Zoom line, checking in from Thailand. Karen, good morning to you, my friend. Welcome again.
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Always a pleasure every time I'm here.
You're asking, well, at least you're putting forward a really interesting talking point. You're suggesting here, can remote jobs slow the brain drain in TNT? We know that every single day, every single month, many of our talented, very passionate young people who I know probably want to contribute, but might not get the opportunity. They're knocking on doors and it's not working out, so they seek that particular dream somewhere else, sometimes up the islands, the US, Canada, Europe, probably they head to the east where you're located right now. Now, how could we bring some remote jobs in the space to slow down the brain drain and to keep the best and brightest here?
Yeah, and I mean, let me give context, right? So this conversation, this talking point started because this week I saw one of the biggest companies in the world was hiring for a digital strategist job, and the post was on LinkedIn, right? And I thought to myself, when I looked at the post was for digital strategists. This is a job that I do, and you can be 100% digital when you do it. And the role was you had to be on site. Now, my first thought was, I wonder who they could get, because the last 3 people that I know that just migrated from Trinidad, one to Vietnam, one to Spain, another one to another European country, they were all digital strategists too, right? So I'm thinking to myself, we have much of the best digital strategists who I know that have already migrated, whether it be abroad or whether it be to another Caribbean island. Who are they going to be getting these people from? And when you think about how many people are migrating, it is becoming a massive problem. So I just want to quote the IMF. The IMF currently states that in the Caribbean, over 70% of our tertiary educated people migrate. And we now have more than 9 million Caribbean-born individuals now living abroad. When you factor in their kids, we currently have one of the highest diasporas in the entire world, and we are not engaging them. The problem now is, if our best and brightest continue to leave, then what is going to happen to the skilled labor of our country? So when we're talking about remote work, it is now becoming a thing of survival, because at least when people were migrating before, when they left. They're gone to build up every other country. Now that we have technology, there are a lot of roles that are digital that can be done remotely that we need to start offering. That way we can still keep a hold or still have our skilled labor contributing back home to our countries right here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Makes total sense. The person doesn't physically need to be here, but they can still contribute via their brain power and their strategy and their expertise remotely. So let's say they're living out there in Toronto. They could still function and keep a particular business here at home operational. So you're suggesting here that the brain drain really it could be an illusion if we do it the right way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's already happening. Like, you have countries like India, Philippines, China. You have a lot of countries that are already leaning more into remote work where possible. We know not every single job, because I know people are going to jump up and be like, this can't apply to everybody. We know that. There are a lot of jobs that are coming on in this new economy that can be 100% digital. Now, this works both ways, right? If you have people that are on the way out or even if they would like to leave, but they don't understand how they can earn and still be able to migrate, if they now have the remote opportunities, we can still keep them. We still get that brain power. But when they migrate, they now get to choose countries, lifestyles. They can put themselves in the best possible positions to continue their own growth, because we know in the region, there's only so much we can do. We are going to have to go to other countries to learn, to upskill, to experience new environments to our growth. And that only benefits our skilled labor in TNT. So we do have to start thinking about how can we engage the diaspora, but also how can we engage the people that are on the way out, where we're just going to be losing them and not getting anything in return.
The biggest, in terms of folks leaving, is there a deficit? What particular sector? When you look at the stats, or even talking to colleagues, there is, lots of vacancies, or at least it's being impacted in a major way. People are leaving and going overseas for what exactly? And more so, as mentioned, what's been left behind? What sectors really lacking and need that I guess, that re-engagement, as it were?
Yes, so I don't have the exact numbers in terms of which sectors are being impacted the greatest, but I mean, think about all of the people that you know that have migrated, right? Everybody that I know, they're in specialties right across the board, from some of the newer industries like cybersecurity. I know a couple of people that are in logistics that have gone, and they've gone just because their skill sets and expertise are just too far advanced for what we're even doing in the Caribbean, right? So I think it's a wide range of people who are just either just leaving for their own betterment. But again, when we start looking at what are a lot of these new roles that are being created that we have that could be done remotely, this is still going to be a great way that we can engage them. Now, I know one of the biggest things that people are thinking about is, well, what happens with taxes? So I just want to put out there, I'm not the tax expert, but basically what this looks like is like this. The reason why there's over 66 countries right now that are offering digital nomad visas is because digital nomads are attractive. You basically are able to allow people to live in their country, right? Live in their home country. Once the company that you are working for is not setting up an actual business in that country that you are in, if they're not operating in the country or you are not conducting business on their behalf, this is what usually digital nomad visas specifically prohibit. So you only have to pay your taxes in your home country unless the person decides to move to a country that has double taxation laws. But again, that part is on the personal choice, but the companies are not getting taxed. So again, you can still keep your talent. People might now take a job, and even if it might not pay the best for Trinidad standards, that same job might give you 3 times the better life if you moved out to Vietnam with that same salary.
Karen Rose, what could we do at home to attract foreign talent?
Our companies have to evolve. That's really what it comes down to. Our companies have to evolve because the skill sets that are being evolved in the world, like again, we talk every single week. I talk to you from all over the countries, all these other countries that I'm in. And when I see what's going on, a lot of the skill sets that I'm seeing that are powering a lot of the ecosystems that I am seeing, a lot of those skill sets aren't even a thought in many of the Western world, let alone the Caribbean, right? So when you're seeing things like flying cars or flying taxis that are now being rolled out, Thailand just announced that we're going to start having flying taxis by the end of the year. What school in the Caribbean is teaching that, right? So the companies are going to have to evolve. The schooling system is going to have to evolve because we're going to have to start upskilling our people. And if you want to attract that foreign talent, the companies have to start offering positions that are going to make sense that people would even want to apply for.
I would imagine even on a legislative level, we'll have to obviously make these nomad visas available and make sure that we have the capacity, the digital capacity, so that people could log on and have a good, strong feed any part of the country at any given day.
Yeah, we absolutely need to formalize it. So again, we touched on this in the past where we know there's a lot of people that from abroad that are content creators that seemingly have been living in Trinidad and Tobago for years, and we're just like, well, how are they able to do that? Because we can't go to their country and live and just live there or be there for more than 30 days or 60 days. So what definitely has to happen is every single country does have a predefined digital nomad visa that sets the tone, sets the rules, how long you can stay, basically prohibit you from working in that country or operating in the country. Your income has to be based on you working abroad. These are some of the things that we have to legalize. And we don't have to look far for an example because Barbados has one of the most successful digital nomad visa programs. It's called the Barbados Welcome Stamp, and that is something that they launched since the pandemic and it's been generating some good bit. I believe in their first year, from what I recollect, just having the visa applications alone, they generated over 50 million US just in their first year from the applications alone for that Barbados Welcome Stamp visas.
And this will, of course, add to the tourism product. It will be long-term stays as opposed to somebody coming and just stay for a couple of days or a week. They have to live, eat, sleep, spend on the island.
That's why Thailand dropped a 5-year digital nomad visa. That's the visa that I'm on because they want you to come. Because when you're talking about tourism, right? The problem with tourism in general There's always highs and low seasons. We all know that. The difference is with digital nomads is now you can get these people here on long-term stays. You're giving them the best possible environment so that they can execute and live the lifestyle that they want. But now you're allowing them to live in the environment that they want, and they bring all of that income with them. If you're getting paid $100,000 US a year and you're living in that country, where are you going to be spending it? It's everybody around you that's going to be receiving that money. And even for me, when I look around and I'm going to like my gym, my laundry lady, all the service providers that I use typically, they have all grown and doubled in staff or doubled in locations since I've been in Thailand. So I'm absolutely seeing the growth, and that's all because of the amount of digital nomads that are coming into the country, but they're building the ecosystem to be able to facilitate all the migration coming in.
So Karen Rose, I want to go back to what you said earlier. You said about 70% of tertiary educated young people are leaving the region?
Have left. So over 70% of the tertiary educated graduates in the Caribbean have left and migrated.
So this is from Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, all the major hubs.
Jamaica, Guyana, yeah, and it's higher in some smaller countries. Because remember, right? Even when you're getting the degrees,
shocking, you know. That's real. That's alarming, you know.
It's a problem. It's a massive problem. And it's not slowing down. And again, when you look at it, think about every single year come graduation time from UWI. How many times we see the reports, UWI just graduated 400 doctors, there's nowhere to go. We live in a smaller island developing state. There's only so much opportunities before people want to start spreading their wings and going to other markets. So we still have to figure out clever ways to still engage our talent, because either which way, people have to eat. And if we can't eat home, they're going to go and find the opportunities. And when you acquire some of these newer skills, if the businesses locally are not evolving to allow you to bring in those new skill sets, people are going to go and apply their trade where they can apply their trade. And that is now happening all over the world. And again, it's now becoming location independent. Somebody could live in Thailand and work for countries all throughout the Caribbean region and diaspora.
Wow, Karen, indeed. As we wrap things up again, a chance for you to put a closing remark and just remind everyone looking on as to where they can find you. So many people call me to find out how they can. People calling me to find out how they get onto you, Karen. I should be a manager or something, bro. Oh, that man, boy. We can talk to that man, boy. You know, so I have to reach out to you all the time. So just let folks know where they can find you, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, best place to find me, KarenRose.com. I put out a lot of content and information on that. All the stuff that we talk about on air goes on KarenRose.com. And then on social media, Karen Rose on every single platform. But yeah, remote jobs, I definitely think, again, it's not a silver bullet, but it is a lever that we can pull that can engage and slow down that brain drain. But again, it's going to take our companies to start innovating, and it's going to take our government to really recognize this drive to try to slow down that brain drain, normalize remote work. But then it's also an opportunity because, Jason, we spoke about it. They campaigned and we're going to try to make Tobago more digital nomad friendly, right? We ain't heard nothing since then. So I mean, these are things that we need to keep up in the media because they can ultimately help grow Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed, you know, we need to stop kicking the can down the road and really get up to the time and tap into our limitless potential. Karen Rose, all the best. We'll touch base.
All the best
next week.
Take care next week.
Yes, Karen Rose. You can get him on his website, KarenRose.com. People always call me trying to get on Tobago. The bald man you talked to on a Tuesday. I was like, oh, that's Karen Rose, folks. And I mean, the man is really versed, truly amazing, and he's on top of all that's happening within the digital space. So as per usual, every Tuesday we start off the second hour with the conversations via digital world technology, and then we transition to our most important dialogue on cancer. Conversations on cancer next. Dr. LeBlanc joins me to continue in that regard. Very important talking point as we treat with the importance of mammogram screening. Dr. LeBlanc next.
Tile Depot Diwali sale on now. Stunning floors at dazzling prices.
12 by 12, $750. 17 by 17, $975. 18 by 18, $995. 20 by 20, $15.95. And 22 by 22, only $20. Visit Tile Depot Limited today at Bagney Chase Village. Call 234-4402.
Get your home ready for Christmas with La Vega's Big Plant Sale. From October 24th to November 2nd, enjoy 20% off all plants, pots, soil, fertilizers, fruit trees, palms, herbs, indoor plants, flowering plants, fragrant plants, ground cover, and more. While you shop, the family can enjoy the nature park, ATVs, and pools. Visit La Vega San Fernando or Grand Couva, both branches blooming with savings. Call for details. La Vega's Plant Sale. This one sale you don't want to miss.
Presenting the most modern pharmaceutical facility in the country, Food Basket Hyperfarm Pharmacy Food Basket Complex, Arima. We stock the widest range of health and beauty products, baby supplies, stationery, fragrances, and cosmetics. Our organic, sugar, and gluten-free products cater to vegans and the health conscious. A wide assortment of dispensary medication and over-the-counter items at the most affordable prices. Make Hyperfarm Pharmacy your choice. Located on the compound of Food Basket Complex, Arima.
Dr. LeBlanc joins me this morning via the Zoom line from her home office. I want to thank Dr. LeBlanc, as always, for the time, the dedication, the commitment to being here with us. I know your schedule is indeed a very intense schedule, so every time we get a chance to touch base, I'm truly appreciative. And today's talking point, a very important one, the importance of mammogram screening. Dr. LeBlanc, great to see you as always, and welcome.
Good morning, thank you, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
So I'm going through my notes here, Dr. LeBlanc, and I'm seeing that the mammogram is a low-dose X-ray used to screen for breast cancer. Could you walk us through ball by ball what it entails, the actual process of the mammogram?
Yes, so Jason, the mammogram is a part of our screening protocol for breast cancer, and it is the gold standard screening test right now at this time. So a mammogram is basically, everybody sees that machine where it has two plates. And what happens is that when you're going to do your mammogram, you don't wear any soap, creams, or deodorants. And then a mammographer, who's a technician, will then position you in different positions, positioning each breast in different views, and the plates will come down slowly onto the breast tissue and take that X-ray. And that is how we get that picture to see what the tissue is looking like, and if we're seeing any abnormal lesions or lumps or any masses or calcifications, to then determine what we do to go forward. And this is screening, and this screening means we're looking for a disease in a so-called normal population. So we're looking for a disease before you get signs and symptoms, so to speak.
What's the recommended age a woman should consider this mammogram screening?
So mammogram should begin ideally between the ages of 35 to 40, but also you have to look at the patient's family history in terms of if they had a first-degree relative that may have had breast cancer, and if they passed away as well from breast cancer, then that patient's case is individualized in terms of when their baseline screening should start. But ideally between the ages of 35 to 40, we should start mammography. And JW, I should remind the public that a lot of us in the Caribbean have what we call dense breast tissue. So that means that our tissue is very dense, and so it may obscure some lumps. So what we do is that if you have dense breast tissue, we do the mammogram and the breast ultrasound.
So you said earlier that the breast goes between two plates. Is this a painful process? Because, I mean, I'm trying to visualize a breast being squished. Yeah, yes. Being squeezed per se. I mean, that in itself could kind of give somebody a sleepless night, I would imagine.
It could, but you know, the machines really have changed over the years. I'm due for my mammogram next year, so hopefully I can do a video on that again. But all the machines that we have in the country, and the ones that we have at the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society, is what we call least compression pain machines. So that means it's not as it sounds. It's not like a bam on your breast. It just goes down slightly, and it's really just a discomfort. Now, the timing of the mammogram is important. If you're still menstruating, then we recommend your mammogram being done 5 days after your period has ended. If you're in perimenopause or menopause, and so your period is either absent or irregular, then we recommend you choose a particular time, a specific time of the year, of that month, and so forth. So it's a regular time, and you do that every year. So that's what we recommend. But it's really not as bad as it sounds. You do have discomfort. JW, you may have the extra side effects. Some women may be a little more sensitive. The small-breasted women, we do have small breast plates, but it's still, their breast tissue is limited. But really and truly, all I can say is this is a test that in a few minutes doing this test, it actually saves lives. And that is what WHO and PAHO and the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society and the Ministry of Health of Trinidad and Tobago are all seeking to do. This is to promote early detection so that we have a greater chance of survivorship and that we can decrease the death by breast cancer in women around the world.
Indeed, my producer said that via the society she would have done, she did her mammogram screening. And she said it wasn't uncomfortable at all. You all made the process really comfortable for her. So, that's a good look there. Let me ask, is this the first line of defense? Is this the first process? Let's say after the mammogram screening, something is detected. Walk us through the chronological order, as it were, when it comes to treatment and testing and ultimately, if it comes down to having to treat with, God forbid, cancer.
So the screening for breast cancer starts at home with you doing your self-breast examination every month, 5 days after your period is ended. Then your annual clinical breast examination, which can be done by your clinician or a registered nurse or in the Cancer Society as well. And then you do your annual mammogram and ultrasound if needed. So what happens if you've done all of that and something is detected? First of all, don't panic, because not everything that is found on a mammogram means it's cancer. So I want everybody out there to just breathe and know that it's not going to equate immediately a diagnosis of cancer. So let's say I go in to take my mammogram and they found, and this has happened to me before, they say you have very dense breast tissue, let's do an ultrasound, we think we're seeing something. After that, if they're still seeing that through the mammogram and the breast ultrasound that there is something there and they're concerned about it, then they will or may recommend what we call an ultrasound-guided fine needle aspiration. That means with an ultrasound, the radiologist will go in, guided by the ultrasound, to take samples of the lesion that they're seeing. Or, JW, before that, they may say, let's do a spot compression. That means they go to that spot and they compress just a little more to see what is happening. If based on the spot compression, it is still showing something abnormal, then we'll do the fine needle aspiration. If there's a bigger mass, then we may do something called a true cut biopsy. When that is sent to the labs, that is determined, the mass that is taken out, the sample that's taken out, goes through histology, which means a histologist will then look at it under a microscope and determine if the cells are normal or abnormal, being benign or malignant. And based on that, we then make a diagnosis.
Dr. LeBlanc, I wanted to ask kind of really, not so much with the screening part of it, but just to treat with the breasts. If there is trauma to the breasts via some, let's say a woman who's involved in sports, a lash in that regard, you hit the breast in some way, should a woman go check on that immediately if there is extreme trauma to the breast area?
Well, like any part of your body, if there's extreme trauma to any part of your body, you should get it checked. But the myth of a hit to the breast causing cancer needs to be debunked. So if you get hit in your breast and it's hurting, extremely painful, that should be checked out, and it may need to be followed up because you may have scar tissue forming after that injury, because it will be soft tissue injury. But that doesn't mean it is going to be cancer at all.
Understood. And if within your own inspection, because you always talk about listening to the body, inspecting the body, a woman is doing her personal checks while taking a shower, if they feel something, or if there is there ever, let's say, a change to, let's say, the nipple area, is that something of a concern that happens at all?
Oh, definitely. So when we look at signs and symptoms of breast cancer, and we do our breast examination, and I've shown you already how to do the breast examination, the self-breast examination. If you find a lump, but sometimes you just JW, first of all, we have to look at our breasts. we have to look at the size of the breast. Now, they're never going to be the same size, and I say this all the time, unless you pay for them. So there's always going to be a slight difference. But if there's a marked difference, if you see a rash on the breast, if you see a rash around the nipple, discharge from one nipple, the nipple was out but it's now in, so that's an inverted nipple. If you see anything like that, or the skin of the breast looking like a rough skin lemon or an orange, all those are possible signs and symptoms of breast cancer.
You mentioned paid for the breast. The breasts that are paid for, women who go and they alter based on surgery just for the aesthetic of it, does it impact the mammogram screening at all? Are you still able to see in a comprehensive way what's happening with the breast, even if there would have been some cosmetic adjustments?
I didn't hear you. Sorry, you cut out.
No, I was asking in terms of the breast itself. You mentioned for those who might pay for the breast, if there is cosmetic adjustments, will the mammogram screening still give a comprehensive result?
Depending on the type of implant, your plastic surgeon and your physician will determine what screening you do, but we still do the mammograms and the ultrasounds, depending on the type of implant.
Yeah, and I would imagine that advancements would have been made in that area over the years.
Definitely. And so it's important to have that discussion with your healthcare practitioner, understand that screening, JW. Now, it's a real rough month for me. I have a very dear friend who is battling right now stage 3 breast cancer. I mean, when I say very dear, she's almost a sister to me. And it hit us hard because while there may have been a delay in screening, there was also a delay in timely diagnosis, and it wasn't in Trinidad. So, but that brings it back home to why we need to do our screening, why we need to pay attention to our bodies, and not be afraid of a diagnosis. Now, my sister will survive. I'm almost positive about that because we're all rallying for her. But I have other friends as well who have made it through, who are survivors to this day of breast cancer. And I say that to you because it is not something that we're isolated from as women in the Caribbean, in the Americas. And so we have to really do our part when it comes to lifestyle, to our screening, because we have pillars that we ourselves can act on and build that foundation to allow for increased survivorship. JW, right now we are facing a crisis in Latin America and the Caribbean when it comes to breast cancer. And I don't want to sound morbid. I want us to be empowered. I want us to know that there's hope. But there's only true hope if we do our part when it comes to screening and early detection.
Dr. LeBlanc, as always, I'll let you have the closing remarks as we wrap things up for this very, very, I would say, insightful conversation on cancer. Go right ahead.
My major point is, don't be afraid of a diagnosis of cancer. October is the month for us to increase your awareness and empower you to get screened, to remember those we've lost, and to also walk with those who have fought this battle and have come out on the other side of it. Let us not be afraid to have our mammograms. Debunk the myths that mammograms cause cancer. Please know that that is not true. Let's come together as women and men of the Caribbean and let us truly, truly do our part when it comes to healthier lifestyles. Get screened, get screened, get screened. Please, the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society is available. We are there to offer screening. We have a special on for October as well, but it's limited as usual. But please don't hesitate. Remember, we are your national voice against cancer, and only through screening and early detection can we save lives. Let us not let ourselves down, and let us do our part to promote a healthier population by the year 2040 as mandated by WHO and ourselves.
Dr. LeBlanc, as always, sincere thanks. All the best. We'll touch base soon.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much. And, see you next month. We have bubbles coming up, so I look forward to seeing you there.
We look forward. Yes, indeed. Dr.
Have a great one. Bye.
Bye-bye. Dr. LeBlanc, touching base as always. We come back after the break and get into some housekeeping, just ways and means you can contact us, so you can join me on the couch or link with me via the Zoom line. Housekeeping, full details when we come back.
help you need to succeed. With Rand Credit Union, you can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
CLR is your turn. The Roadie Lovers comedy show is coming to the east. Cipriani Liba College.
One show only. Sunday the 2nd of November, 6:30 p.m. baby.
Tickets available at Electronics Arima, Dorman Shoe Store, Long Circular Mall, Anthony's Floral, Val Park, Gay Square Stores, Eastgate Mall, West Mall, Brentwood Plaza, Chaguanas, and C3 Center Mall, San Fernando, and IslandEtickets.com. For more info, call 683-0356. Eastside, are you ready to laugh?
Well,
clock yet.
Parents will do it, they'll go to work, have a day, bro, and come on and take that stress out on you.
Welcome to another episode of Manhood.
Everybody will do what they need to do to get what they want.
And if they can't fit in to the norms, then what do they do? They're surviving.
Not everybody wants to kill me because I might be all kind of thing, but I think I'm a good person.
The aspect of a mentor seeing something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Check yourself, because you shaped that generation.
Are we losing in many ways the values?
Since I have this Parkinson's diagnosis, there's a group, a very small type group, who will always look after me.
Tobago is going to be alive for the next couple of days. This is Carnival Week in Tobago. Straight into the weekend, the parade of the bands, the Juve, all the major parties. Just enjoy yourself, be safe, and really happy for Tobago. I hope that everyone, from the taxi man to the food lady to the sound system and everyone, they're able to get that nice boost and generate some good income getting, well, at least rolling into the last quarter of 2025. So all the best, Tobago. Enjoy your carnival. I know it's going to be tremendous. Let's remind you, ways and means you can connect with us. Putting a nice paragraph there about. Nothing too long. We don't want no thesis. Nice, to the point. You're sending it to our producer. And the email address is tmb@cnc3.co.tt. We look forward to seeing you soon. You're most welcome. Let's head across to the social media handles. I stay on top of all the news via our Instagram, Facebook, and X feed. Clearly, it's there to see. It's at CNC3 News for the Instagram, Facebook at CNC3 Television, and X, formerly Twitter, at CNC3 TV, #TMB. Stay on top of all what's happening. You could also do that with the mobile app, huh? How you mean? How you mean the #1 source for verified breaking news? All your favorite content on demand. It's local, regional, and international developments. On this app, also programming details. Once the story is vetted, we put it out there so you know what's happening. That's right, good stuff. Let's head across to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. As per usual, the beacon, the hallmark, the local, the titan of news. Oh, you mean 108 years, you know? That's legacy. That is legacy for you. I want you to visit guardian.co.tt for your subscription so you could enjoy the digital Guardian, moving with the times and staying on top of all the latest trends. With that, we head to our food for thought. Let's read together and enjoy. Every morning is a chance at a new day. Literally, every morning is a chance at a new day, and we always enjoy the morning. I myself look forward to every morning getting a chance to spend and have a conversation with you, Trinidad and Tobago, and the wider world. Sometimes you get up early, you get the early morning hue, the changing of the colors, that night into daytime, the beautiful, you know, the orange and the hues in the sky. And I mean, after our friends on Mayaro and Manzan and them place. They get it real nice. Yeah, beautiful sunrise. I love a sunset, but there's something really special about a sunrise. So by all means, it's a new day, it's morning time, and we are going into a full week of productivity TNT. Let's take the pause and we come back to officially pull the curtains on today's installment. See you soon.
Your turn, the Roadie Lovers comedy show is coming to the east. Cipriani Liba College. One show only. Sunday the 2nd of November, 6:30 p.m. baby. Tickets available at Electronics Arima, Dorman Shoe Store, Long Circular Mall, Anthony's Floral Val Park, Gay Square Stores, Eastgate Mall, West Mall, Brentwood Plaza, Chaguanas, and C3 Center Mall, San Fernando, and IslandEtickets.com. For more info, call 683-0356. Eastside, are you ready to laugh?
In the ever-changing media landscape, we at Guardian Media strive always to put you, our viewers and readers, first.
We strive to uphold the time-honored tenets of responsible journalism.
For us, accuracy is key.
And in our reporting, we strive not only to be first, but fair,
impartial,
and to uphold journalistic integrity.
Above all, we are accountable to you, and we must respect the views of our audience. That is our solemn contract with you.
Keen attention to detail,
rigorous verification of facts,
use of credible sources, and sound editorial judgment.
Keep track of our editorial policies and guidelines, including our corrections policy, by logging on to www.guardian.co.tt for more.
That last image there, Sheldon, that looks like Tobago again, right? Is it Charlottesville? I know it's one of those places on that side. I think that could be, I guess my friends from Tobago could let me know tomorrow. But nonetheless, it's going to be a great week in the Sister Isle. Unfortunately, I won't make it across this time. Hopefully next year, I'll have some commitments this weekend here at home. And I guess I'll just enjoy vicariously through everyone via their social media feeds, but I know it's going to be a great time for everyone for Tobago Carnival. With that, we make our exit. Have yourselves a productive day, TNT. Be safe and God spare. I'm back for more right here on the Morning Brew via CNC3 tomorrow. All the best, TNT.
Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.
You're watching CNC3. The views and opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of CNC3.
Your gut is a vibrant ecosystem, working day and night to keep you healthy. It digests food,